Family, you know, as we get on this track to 100,000 subscribers, I deeply appreciate you, those who have been here earlier, you know, in this journey. I want to ask you a question. I need you to answer me honestly if you can down in the comments. Am I petty? Am I a petty person? And the reason I ask is because I'm about to toot my own horn a little bit, not over this channel, but about Maynard James Keenan and what I assumed from the beginning, which turned out to be right, despite everybody kind of getting on my ass about it, all right? You know, during the time around where the song we're about to be interacting with was being formulated, the song we're going into right now is Push It by Tool. And, yeah, there it is right there. Let me get that out of the way real quick. You know, during this time, Maynard is kind of developing an interest in psychology, you know, Jungian themes, altered states and all this stuff, right? And Maynard also begins to hide during this era. I mean, he's hiding like on stage. He's in the shadows. He's kind of abandoning this idea that most rock bands get into. Like, we got to put the front man up front. You know, we got to kind of have interviews about what these songs are deeply about. Bro, the reason Maynard is hiding on stage is because he wants the song to speak to your particular psychology and situation. Listen, earlier when I started to interact with Tool on this channel, I was bombasted with a bunch of comments, probably not as much as I'm imagining. But there were a lot of comments saying, you're wrong about what you think this song is about. This song is really about this, and it's not about that, and it doesn't have anything to do with this. But that's how it was speaking to me. And I'm recognizing during my history lesson across Tool that that's exactly how they wanted you to interpret it. Not as if anyone is, completely and finally correct about their art. You know, a lot of the meanings of their old songs also began to change in this era. They would say strange things like, hey, you know, we wrote this song and, you know, we thought it was about this, but now that we're older, we're seeing this old song for the meaning that it really had. I mean, Tool is an evolving, changing thing. I love that. Family, we're going to get right into Push It by Tool. Without any further ado, we're going to let them cook. Oh, yeah, and before we do, we are on that road to 100,000 subscribers. Like, comment, share, subscribe if you haven't, and hype the video if you can. Salute. Thank you, family. All right, so, you know, Maynard is also doing this thing, and I bring it up as often as I notice it. Like, he's doing this thing sometimes where he's intentionally lower, like his voice is lower than you would expect given how loud the background music is. So he kind of forces you to really lean in. I have the lyrics pulled up. He says, I saw the gap again today while you were begging me to stay. Take care not to make me enter. If I do, we both may disappear. And seeing that gap, right, while you were begging me to stay, right, there's someone who doesn't want him to leave. It's like, I saw the gap again today. Maybe that gap is the distinction between us, that elephant in the room, the thing that we try to kind of mull over as we're being polite with that partner, right? I saw the gap means that, you know, I'm emotionally aware at this point of this problem that you and I continue to return to. Ever been in that situation? Did he say choke this infant? He said choke this infant here before me. Choke this infant here before me. The infant represents the vulnerable, right? The part of you which has needs. I struggle. My wife tells me this all the time. She'll be telling me, say, hey, you need anything? I'm going to the store. You need anything? Can I do anything for you? And my go-to is just no. I'm saying, oh, no, I'm fine. I'm good, right? And she reminds me every now and then. It's like, hey, you know what? You're pretty sensitive around needs. Like you don't want to admit that you have needs sometimes. You know what I mean? And that's something that I struggle with. Let me know if you identify with that. But he says, choke this infant here before me. The infant is the vulnerable one, the one that has needs. And so by choking that, I think he's saying that, like, I want to appear stronger than I am. I don't want to go to this vulnerable place. I'm going to fight it with all of my being. Do you resonate with that? You didn't need to push it on me, or you didn't need to, it almost sounds like push it on me. It almost sounded like he was saying cheat on me. But he wasn't saying that. He's saying push it on me. But that pushing and shoving, it's kind of interesting in light of what he said before, right? And he says, choke this infant before me, right? What is this but my reflection? What am I to judge or strike you down, right? But he says you're pushing and shoving, right? And the thing is, you feel a little bit more pushed and shoved when it comes to talking about things which make you feel vulnerable. There are certain conversations that all of us tense up around, right? And it's not necessarily that you're being pushed and shoved when those conversations pop up, or when those, the elephant in the room presents itself, let's say. Sometimes it's just your sensitivity. Fam, I might be getting this one wrong. Let me know in the comments. Because if I do, we both might disappear. He says, lay your trigger on my finger, right? That means you have to trust me. You have to be vulnerable enough to allow me to trigger you, or, to give me the power. Let me into that dark thing you don't want to talk about, right? And it's almost like a promise to be gentle with you. Put your trigger on my finger. Yeah, but it's dangerous, right? It's saying, like, look, promise not to go there. Should that kind of arrangement exist in a healthy relationship? there it is. The push-pull. I'm alive when you're touching me. I'm alive when you're shoving me down. It's it's a bittersweet thing, because the person who, triggers you is likely to be the same person who gives you access to joy. It's like you wouldn't have any joy without the suffering part, right? I'm sorry. Sometimes Danny gets me. Lord, I was wondering where the Danny was. I'm not going to sit here and lie. I was like, yo, please give Danny a solo. Let him talk on this one. Let him cook, please. Oh, how? I'm sorry. I have to hear that again. Did you hear that? Is there 4 people on the drums at one time? How is he doing? Listen. That's bizarre. The mood has changed. Big Selah moment here. You put me somewhere I don't want to be. You push me somewhere I don't want to be. There it is right there. Seeing someplace I don't want to see. Let me ask you, why do you keep getting with that person that pushes you somewhere you don't want to be and makes you see something you don't want to see? Why is it always the same type of person, right? Because there's something deeply in you that does want to see it, right? And I know Maynard was into at this time the subconscious, the Jungian idea of the subconscious, which almost has a completely different set of goals than the ego, right? So he says, seeing someplace I don't want to see. Isn't it fascinating that you chose the partner that puts you in that place that, eventually kind of gets at that spot? There's something maybe subconscious that does want to deal with that issue that you've been hiding from, right? But the ego feels so fragile when faced with it. Hmm. Hmm. Guys, I'm not going to sit here and lie. This song is not my favorite sonically. I wish Danny would have gone crazy for a little bit more, and maybe this is not your favorite sonically. I am definitely enjoying the lyrics, but that is I mean, it's Maynard. How can you not? Guys, did I speak too early on the Danny thing? Danny's going kind of crazy. Bro, there will never be a voice quite like Maynard's. When I say I might fade like a sigh if I stay. Like who? Like I can't imagine the state he's in when he comes up with this. And maybe you've answered this already in the comments, but I need you to settle this for me. When he sings in concert, is he singing like the same like notes? Does he play around with it? Because it seems so specific. All these songs, they don't seem like necessarily like repeatable. Like in the way that he's doing that. I don't want to say they're not repeatable. It's just like I don't know. It has so much emotion. It has a particular feeling attached to it that matches the music in such a complex and straightforward way that it's difficult for me to imagine that they're doing the exact same thing at the show. Let me know if you know if that makes sense and whether or not their performance is like the song. Family, what did I just listen to? Remember that I will always love you as I claw your throat away? The one that you love, I think true and genuine love, right, exists in, I think what John Vervaeke calls a reciprocal opening process, right? You unlock the potential in me, and I unlock the potential in you. Oh, but unlocking that potential requires going back and visiting some of that dark stuff and integrating it, doesn't it? Right? And so that clawing and tearing at one another is just a result of that feral response we have to taking us into our dark places. Yeah. That the ending of that was fairly fire. I'm not gonna pivot too much on my first listen from the conclusion that this was not my favorite sonically. Let me know in the chat, family, what I missed. If anything, I'm certain I missed a fair amount on my first listen. This one was complex.